Do you suffer with pain? Are you looking for relief? There is help. Welcome to Back Talk with Dr. Steve Lininger, brought to you by Manassas Chiropractic and Rehab. And now, your host.
Thanks so much for joining me this week for Back Talk with Dr. Steve Lininger. My name is Kimberly Henrie, and I'm your host. And today we'll be talking about a variety of conditions that can be treated by your chiropractor. Now, before Dr. Steve Lininger joins us, just a reminder that if you have questions at any time, please visit us at www.chiropractor-manassas.com. Dr. Lininger, how are you today? It's good to talk with you.
Thank you. It's good to hear your voice as well. I'm doing great.
Good. It's we always have such fun learning. You know, I always feel like after we're done, I've learned at least one or two new things. So I look forward to today's conversation.
Well, so do I.
Yeah. So we've got a variety. We've talked about a variety of different conditions that can be treated in a chiropractor's office, and there's a few more that we really haven't spent a lot of time on. So what are some of the other things that we haven't really talked about as much that you see in your office?
Well, you know, I was thinking about this today as I went to see my dentist, and I treat a lot of TMJ. Sometimes I'll get referrals from someone's dentist where they send the patient over here for TMJ, and because sometimes the jaw can misalign, the joint in the jaw, and I'm trained just like every other chiropractor that's licensed is trained to adjust every joint in the human body, including the jaw joint. So sometimes the jaw needs an adjustment, and it clicks right into place. Sometimes a patient's jaw misaligns, and adjustment to the jaw will calm the symptoms, calm the inflammation, that they'll feel better sometimes in one or two treatments.
So what are the symptoms of TMJ? How do you know you have it?
They have a lot of pain in the jaw, and it's not going away. Sometimes it'll trigger headaches, too.
Is it what, I mean, when I think of TMJ, I think of the term lockjaw. Is that like when your jaw doesn't move, or is that? Yeah,
go ahead. That's a little different.
Okay.
The jaw does lock up. There is actually a locked jaw that you can get from infection. And I think that term was coined from with tetanus and things like that, where the jaw actually, you know, it degenerated, and that's not what we're talking about.
Okay. So just general pain in the jaw.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about when the jaw is misaligned and it locks up, but not locked jaw.
Okay.
By the original definition, it has to do with the tetanus disease. We're not talking about that. We're talking where the joint's just inflamed. And
so TMJ is one, and is it maybe more common than we realize? I thought that was kind of something that didn't happen anymore.
No, it happens quite a bit.
Okay.
A lot of patients suffer from headaches and jaw pain from it.
Okay.
And it can be helped by chiropractic.
Nice. What are some other things that you've seen come through that you treat maybe that we wouldn't think of?
Well, I treat a whole lot of ankle sprains and wrist sprains.
Really?
Typically they're sports injuries. Typically they're middle-aged Hispanic males that play soccer. So I train them. They come limping in after a weekend on Monday morning. So yeah, I do treat a lot of ankle sprains, probably more than most chiropractors, and I think that's because of the demographic that I serve. Is we have a large Hispanic population here, and they play soccer quite a bit, and they're always tearing their ankles up.
And you're bilingual too, which helps, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
I do speak Spanish, and so does all my staff.
Okay.
And I also, fall on an outstretched hand can cause a wrist fracture or a sprain. I see quite a bit of those. I diagnosed a wrist fracture last week, and I had to send him to the ortho for casting because he didn't know. You know, we didn't know it was broken.
Right.
So we took the X-rays.
Right.
So I see a lot. Chiropractors in general, you know, people just walk in off the street.
Sure.
They don't need a referral to see a chiropractor, so we kind of see everything. And some of the stuff they're in the wrong office for. But in most of the cases, with sprains and strains, they're in the right office.
And we'll talk, I know that you offer some different types of treatments that maybe aren't available in other offices locally there. So we'll talk about that in just a few moments. Are there any other conditions that we have not really touched on?
Well, we've talked about carpal tunnel.
Yes, we have.
Knee pain. I treat a lot of knee patients with the laser treatments.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In fact, I just came from a place where a guy was asking about his knee, and I think he's going to come in tomorrow. So I do treat a lot of knee pain.
Knee pain is so common, and shoulder pain too, really common. I bet you see a lot of that.
I treat a lot of shoulders.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up, Dr. Leninger, some of the unique treatments that you're offering in your office to treat some of these conditions. So maybe starting with the TMJ, you mentioned that sometimes you might use a laser. What's that all about?
Well, we have a Class 4, it's called the Class 4 Light Cure Laser. It's FDA approved. It's very safe, very powerful laser. It reduces inflammation, it reduces swelling and scar tissue formation. It speeds up the process of ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate production. Mm-hmm. So you have inflammation and pain being reduced and circulation increasing at the site of pain.
So you're just speeding up the healing process? Is that what it's
Yes,
about?
And it also calms down inflammation almost immediately, sometimes in 1 or 2 treatments.
So what does that replace? If you didn't have the laser, how would you treat that patient?
Well, traditionally, a lot of therapists would use things like ultrasound or stem, other modalities. Mm-hmm. Before we had Class 4 lasers, they used Class 1s and 2s, but they didn't have the penetration level that a 4 does. Mm-hmm. Penetration level is up to 9 inches below the skin, so you can treat a disc injury in the lower back or neck. We also would use adjustments. Okay. Now, we still do all those, but the laser is just another tool that can help. You know, for instance, I couldn't get the penetration of ultrasound doesn't go into a vertebral disc. It just doesn't go that deep, whereas the laser does.
Is there any risk to using the laser?
There are no known side effects.
Wow.
No risk.
That sounds like a really great option.
It is. It's phenomenal. It's the best, by far, the best modality we use in the office. Okay.
Wow. And then you've mentioned a couple of things over the course of our conversations. One of them is decompression. Can you kind of clue us in a little bit on why that's unique and what it does?
Sure. Spinal decompression is a machine the patient is harnessed into. We use low-level tension to pull in 2 different directions on the spinal cord. It basically has axial traction in 2 different directions, just a couple of pounds to the patient's comfort. Mm-hmm. In fact, we ask the patient, does that feel good? Do you want a little more, et cetera? So we always take the patient into account. It's not very hard, and it's done over a number of sessions. And what it does is decompress a disc that's degenerating, so you can actually rehydrate a disc and get water back in the joint. You know, if there's pressure on the nerve in the disc, you put them on the machine, and instantly they feel that the pressure is released, they feel good, and then as they continue to do the treatments, what will happen is, just like water going into a sponge, the disc will rehydrate and reinflate the space between the bones.
So it's almost a reversal of the injury or the degradation.
Exactly a reversal of the damaging effects of gravity on the disc.
Wow. Okay. So do you see a lot of good results with that?
Phenomenal results, 86% success rate. And it's in the 90s when we combine it with the laser.
Oh, wow. Book me. I'll be calling you soon. Okay. And I don't have anything wrong with me, but I just want to come check it all out.
Well, you know, that's the other thing is we do postural scans for people that don't have a lot of symptoms. I do those typically for free if someone wants to check their posture. Basically, you can do it at home, though. Mm-hmm. What you can do is you should be able to draw a line straight across from one shoulder to the other shoulder, and the top of your left hip should line up to the top of your right hip. Mm-hmm. You can look in a mirror and maybe have your spouse help you by placing your hands, one hand on top of one shoulder, one hand on top of the other. And you can tell if one hand is higher.
Sure.
And you can also take 2 scales and stand with 1 foot on each scale and tell if you're carrying weight evenly from one side to the other.
Oh, that's a great idea.
We do that here in the office with new patients, but you can do it at home too.
Oh, wow. I would assume you would want to make sure the scales were calibrated the same, but
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have just a couple of minutes left. I wanted to find out why postural issues are. Why do we care if our one shoulder's higher than the other? I'm not that vain, so.
Okay. No, I understand. Well, some people are, believe it or not.
I'm sure.
Yeah. But here's why. It's because long-term postural distortion, pressure from gravity, if you have those hips or shoulders that are out of alignment, the force of gravity pushes down with the weight of a bowling ball on every square inch of your body every second. So over the years, what will happen is the distortion will get worse. And then it will cause the spine to kink, sort of like bending or wringing out a towel or bending a hose. Wherever it kinks, it's going to pinch a nerve. Wherever the nerve is kinked or pinched, it's compressed, it's going to shut off. It's like stepping on a hose. It's shutting off the water flow or the nerve energy flow from the brain. So the most common, if the shoulders are off, the most common two organs that are attached to the most major organs that are attached to the nerves at the bottom of the neck are your heart and lung. Now, if those nerves are kinked, what do you think it's doing to the heart and lung over time?
Okay.
It's weakening their function. Okay? So that's why a lot of people, when I talk to people, and you can do this yourself on the street, when you see people that are stooped over, that's from the long-term effects of postural distortion that got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And they end up leaning over, bending over in forward flex positions. And if you talk to that person, not only will they have neck and back pain, but they'll typically tell you that they have trouble breathing. They'll typically tell you that they have chronic heart problems. They'll have palpitations. They'll have tachycardia. And that's because the nerve energy going through the neck is reduced going to those two major organs and has been for many years.
That is fascinating.
Well, people that develop scoliosis, the National Institute of Health says that they have, I believe it's 7 years shorter of a lifespan than the average person. That's because they're wringing out the nerves that go to those organs. It's like wringing out a towel.
We just don't think of it that well. I can't speak for all of humanity, but I just don't think of it that way. That, a shoulder out of alignment is not that big of a deal, but it sounds like it really is.
Well, it can cause nerve damage.
Yeah. Well, you have really educated us a lot today. And it's just, I'll just kind of summarize it by saying that there's a lot of different conditions, injuries, illnesses or ailments that you can see your chiropractor for. And if you go and see Dr. Linninger, he's got some really cool tools to help you out with. That it sounds like easy breezy. It sounds like a spa treatment. No, I don't want to make light of it because it does really sound like you have some advanced tools.
Most of our patients enjoy their visits. That's true.
That's great.
It's not like getting your teeth drilled at the dentist.
Right. And you would know.
Yeah.
So if you would like to book an appointment with Dr. Linninger, you can contact him. I'm going to give out your phone number. You tell me if I got it right. 703-396-7770.
That's it.
And the website is chiropractor-manassas.com.
That's correct.
And you're located right next to the ice cream store.
Pines Freeze, 8214 Centerville Road in Manassas.
Nice. All right. We are out of time. But if you can think of someone who might benefit from what we've covered here today, they'll thank you for forwarding this episode on to them. And a reminder that if you enjoyed the show, you can also share us with your friends on Facebook at facebook.com/Manassas Web Radio. Dr. Linninger, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. To join a discussion, visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/Manassas Chiro. And to schedule an appointment with Dr. Steve Linninger, call 703-891-9501. That's 703-891-9501.